Ever since Capcom announced the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster a few months ago, I have been extremely excited for the launch of this game, and I probably haven't been this excited since the Resident Evil 4 remake. So Capcom has been dropping some absolute bangers as of recently, and I consider them to be the gold standard of a company when it comes to launching modern AAA games. So I do have a bit of a Capcom bias, but that also means I have a really high standard bar for Capcom, and the launch of the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, at least on PC, has not quite hit that bar for me. It is a great game nonetheless. I'm not here to say Dead Rising is a bad game. I think that is dumb. It is a great game. It is a franchise that deserves to see a resurgence, and hopefully that resurgence will be through Japanese studios via Capcom instead of Western studios, because last time that happened, we clearly saw what ended up happening. Please note, I am playing this on PC, so my opinions are going to be heavily based on the PC version of the game. So, Dead Rising is back for the 950th time. Thankfully, Dead Rising was put out in a very long 8-year hibernation / grave since the disappointing, actually disastrous release of Dead Rising 4, which was less of a Dead Rising game and more of a why did this even release to begin with, that completely and utterly destroyed the character of Frank West. Now we are back to the beginning and playing on the same engine that Dragon's Dogma and Resident Evil run on, the Reach for the Moon engine. That is correct. It actually doesn't mean the Resident Evil engine. So let me get this out of the way. The game looks ridiculously good. It is a nice coat of paint, the character models look amazing, and it is everything I'd expect from a modern Capcom game, especially after the release of the Resident Evil 4 remaster as well as Resident Evil Village, which all had absolutely gorgeous graphics. However, this comes with some drawbacks, that being PC performance. This is an incredibly, at least on PC, unoptimized port as of launch. I seriously do not understand how something that takes place in this small of a locale with so many different loading screens dividing up all of the areas could possibly take up this much performance to render out or play properly. The current setup that I'm using is an overclocked 10700K as well as an RTX 3080 and 32 gigabytes of RAM, and the game is also snugly put on an M.2 SSD, so it is an ultra fast loader. However, that has not stopped the game from having a bunch of stuttering issues even on medium / high settings with DLSS on. I'm not going to get into a whole argument about the current state of the games industry, but they need to improve this port immediately. I do not expect games to work perfectly day one. However, I think this is a very disappointing launch, especially considering the game's locales are very small, and this isn't a wide open game like Resident Evil 4, which actually did run pretty well. I'm hoping this is a much better experience on consoles, considering it's just a few different hardware configurations compared to the hundreds or even thousands of hardware configurations we have on PC. I have seen a bunch of mixed opinions on it. Some people are saying it's just fine for them, and some people are saying it's utterly terrible, so I hope this is just a temporary problem. This time around, they did take a few liberties to make the game a little more modern as well as a little bit easier. So in the beginning of the game, you actually level up ridiculously fast. I would say too fast. Saving survivors, kill milestones, as well as just general PP gains, or the XP in this game, are a lot faster and a lot more plentiful than they were in the original, letting you reach as high as level 20 within like 2 hours of gameplay, which is almost halfway through the entire progression system. I also believe I was level 6 right after the tutorial because I exploited the amount of PP you get from taking pictures right in the beginning of the game, leading to tens of thousands of PP before I even got to the first case of the game. That's not saying everything with the game is negative though. The HUD has gone for a minimalistic look this time around, so things are a lot more clean and you get to see a lot more of the area because you have more screen real estate, as the extended part of your inventory disappears and reappears depending on when you need it. And there also is a bunch of quality of life improvements, my favorite one being that all weapons now have a durability bar under them, so you can see just before a weapon is about to break instead of counting and figuring out where you might be in the weapon's durability. Adding on to this, they also added a new control scheme that allows you to aim and move at the same time, which is something you could not do in the original game, which is a really cool touch, and the new control scheme does seem very modern. I found myself wanting to go back to the old one, but I'm really pushing myself to use the new one, as I believe modern audiences are just going to default to this one anyways, so it's not horrible. I am getting adjusted to it, but I probably will go back and use the original one my second time through. Additionally, another cool quality of life update is that now if you have a stack of items in front of you, instead of trying to get on the correct pixel so you can get the correct prompt, you can now toggle through prompts in front of you so you can pick up or do the action that you wanted to do instead of picking up an item or interacting with a survivor. However, I did say this game is a bit of a mess in the title, and honestly, it kind of is. The zombies seem to be a lot more unpredictable than they used to be and a lot more aggressive when grabbing you, but honestly, my first playthrough of this game is just weird, to be honest. I don't even know if I should call it a beautiful mess, more like a beautiful weird mess, but things are going very wrong in my first playthrough. First of all, in the beginning of the game, you meet Ken. Ken is going to be a future psychopath that you fight in the game, and he's a very iconic psychopath, so I wanted to fight him my first time through. Unfortunately, I spent about 10 minutes trying to get him to do his signature move so I could take a picture of it, part of his side quest, so you could have a bit of a photo competition with him where he will ask you to take more photos and meet up with him later where you will do a boss fight with him. Unfortunately, it seems like he never does the move, and when he does the move, you have exactly 0.1 seconds to take a picture of it, and that was something that happened in the original game. However, he did the move a lot more, and I spent, not even kidding, 10 minutes trying to get the picture of him, and I had to reload the area, and upon doing that, I actually bugged out his quest line, which means that it was impossible for me to continue, and I had to kill him off because he was just endlessly spawning there with absolutely no quest line tagged to him. And eventually, when I did take the picture, he did not react, he did not do anything scripted, and that was the end of Ken for my run. And this happened in the beginning of my run within the first 30 minutes, so you can probably tell that I was shocked to see such a game-breaking bug. Of course, all of the things that I've described so far are hopefully easily patchable and something that Capcom will fix in the future, but nonetheless, like I said, it's still Dead Rising, it's still really nice, but it's just weird. When it comes to the new character models, I actually don't mind them. I think a lot of them look really good, and I think the new Jessie model looks absolutely gorgeous. She looks better than she did in the original. But I, for the life of me, cannot get used to Brad's new voice. I think it is utterly horrible. I hate Brad's new voice.
Run! Quick, move! Get over here! Everyone, move this way! Quick, to the stairs! Move!
And honestly, a lot of the psychopaths just do not sound the same, and I am not a fan of them. I think they needed to go more comedic with the new voices. They needed to go more early 2000s wacko mode with them. I think some of these voice actors either didn't have a proper prompt, or they were going like too middle ground with this. Just go crazy, go psycho. That's the whole point of the psychopaths. I wish they just used all of the old voices. They were perfectly fine, and in a game that's just basically trying to emulate the first game, including all of the quirks, then I just think it would have been better to just reuse the voices.
You came to vandalize my store, huh?
You came to vandalize my store, huh?
Not on my watch!
Not on my watch!
Someone's been hurt. I need medicine.
Hurt! That's just what this bitch said when she came to vandalize my store!
Someone's been hurt. I need medicine.
Hurt! That's just what this bitch said when she came to vandalize my store!
Especially considering this whole remaster slash remake, which is pretty much a remake. They're just calling it a remaster because they emulated the first game as good as they possibly could. kind of bit them in the butt. I really do think they should have taken even more liberties and really added more content into the game. Not per se into the main story, but they could have added a lot more into the game. They could have added a side story. There's a lot of different things they could have done here to really justify that $50, $60 price tag, depending if you get the deluxe edition or the regular edition of the game. Yep, the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster has a Deluxe Remaster Deluxe Edition, but I will have time to experiment with all of the extra skins and stuff that I purchased later on when I actually finish the game. There also is a bit of controversy with censorship and changing the game, which I do find weird considering the fact that their big drive was emulating the original game as much as humanly possible. They've pretty much eliminated a majority of the erotica from the game, and you are unable to take pictures and have erotica like pinpoints in them. Mostly it was just women's breasts at that point, so it would give you like erotica points when you took pictures, and it would give you PP for cleavage, and that's no longer in the game. And I also believe they swapped out one of the Psycho-Pass models from an Asian man to a white man. So once again, it's kind of weird, to be honest. I don't want to get into the whole political arguments of everything, but at this point, as far as I have to say about like censoring stuff and removing stuff, this is probably less about American politics and more of how the Japanese actually see us in America as people that basically get insulted over everything. But ultimately, it is true to the original game. I mean, it is Dead Rising for modern devices with a modern skin applied to it. It's not like the Resident Evil 4 remake, where it is a whole new way to experience the game, and you should be able to experience both. I think if you've played the Resident Evil 4 remake and you haven't played the classic, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. They are two very different and very similar games at the same time, and you'll have a grown appreciation for the art form in itself if you play both of them. Once again, that's kind of why I was a little disappointed with the fact that they decided to go with a full one-to-one recreation, especially considering the 1 million remasters of the game they have re-released. But I mean, this is kind of a Capcom tradition. How many times did they do that to Resident Evil 4? But once again, when they remade it, they actually remade it. But it's a good way to return to form, experiment with Dead Rising, and hopefully this will be the beginning of the franchise coming back. Capcom definitely deserves to put this titan back under their belt. It's just been a sleeping intellectual property for a while, and the Western developers just absolutely did not get the game. They didn't understand it, so it's good to see it back under Capcom's main team over in Japan. They make absolute bangers. If you're a console player, definitely pick it up. I'd say it is a good pickup right now, and if you're a PC player and you're a little concerned about the performance, you can always pick it up, refund it if you don't like it. And I really do think this is going to be a really nice piece come the holidays. This will be a great present. This will be a great game to get on sale for sure. And I just ultimately want to leave it at, like, hey, I wish there was more here. Maybe when I beat the game, there'll be more. But I'm hungry for more Dead Rising, and I think that's the desired kind of output of this game. I think Capcom's kind of just gauging interest in Dead Rising again, and maybe we'll get a full-fledged franchise, and we'll rewrite all of the garbage that was written before, and we'll get a full Japanese road Dead Rising, which will be awesome, because I'd love to see that. Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down below, and ultimately, game's a beautiful mess, like I said before. See you in the next one.